been a little over 2 weeks since I fed this. I went ahead and fluffed all the trays, and we're going to take a look at the top tray and see what food is left and then give it a new feeding. All right, let's see what these worms have eaten, and then we'll give it a new feeding. I'm going to go ahead and clip a video of the last thing I fed them. Okay, so now you can see how they ate through this newspaper again. I feel like that's a good indicator of like, okay, they've eaten a lot of the food. Once they eat a lot of the food, they start eating through the newspaper. But I'm gonna take this away, put a fresh piece down. I'm already seeing a lot of this is castings, and you'll start getting a feel for it. But all this scraped off on top, there's so many castings. Let's go ahead and dig in here and see what's in here. I'm just gonna go ahead and flip it over. Man, lots of eggshells. But as I'm doing this, look, there's no food. There's this corn that's been in there forever, and that'll continue to break up. But as far as the fast food, I'm feeling just the corn cobs, which those are breaking down every week more and more. Here's maybe an avocado skin. But all that fast food that was in here, so that's more corn. Oh, this is looking like most of this is castings. I'm probably gonna start switching this tray around. We'll see. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna feed this again. Change of plans. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. We fluffed all this up. So much of it is castings. This is the top tray right now, and we're gonna rotate it down one and put a tray on top. We're gonna basically rotate and switch trays. So here's the tray I'm gonna switch it with. This currently is the third tray, and look how different it looks. So this is there's so many castings in here versus a lot more chunky cardboard. It's not as wet, it's not as attractive. You'll find some worms in here, but this is going to be a perfect new top feeding tray to start putting food in finally. What's going to happen is these worms, it'll be sitting like this on the tower. So the worms in this tray where all the castings are going to start migrating up here, because I'm going to put a feeding right here. They're going to start migrating up. And so in I would say about a week, I'm going to check it, maybe a couple weeks even. I'm going to take this off, and most of this will be just castings with very few worms in it. That's the plan. And so that's what I'm going to do right now, is I'm going to put this back onto the system. Okay, so I'm putting this right here. So now this is the second tray. So in a couple weeks, I'll be able to harvest it a lot easier with very little worms in it. You can harvest it with worms, but it just makes it a little bit harder. So, like I said, there's tons of worms in here right now, but they're hopefully going to migrate up. So now with this one, that is going to be the new top feeding tray. The moisture level, it holds together, but it falls apart a lot easier than where the castings were. So I'm definitely going to wet this down a lot more. I don't know what's going on with my sprayer, but just like one little stream. I'll have to look at that later. But either way, I'm gonna wet this down. Okay, so I've wet this down quite a bit. I'm gonna look at the sprayer off camera because I don't know what's going on with that, but let's check this moisture level. See how it's holding together a lot more than it was. So that's good. I think this is a perfect moisture level. There are very few, if any, worms in here from before when it was the second tray. But we are going to do a feeding. So this is going to be the very first feeding of this new tray. And then it's gonna become the top tray. Worms will migrate up. And yeah, it's gonna be good. So a lot of times I'll start out with dry shredded cardboard to absorb the food, but I just rehydrated this. I feel like it's at a good moisture level. And so for now, I'm just gonna leave it like that. Next time I feed, I'm gonna check if it's like super moist. Then I'm gonna put some dry shredded cardboard. You kind of wanna keep that moisture balanced. So let's start with this mango pit. Looks like a banana shell or banana peel on it. I'm gonna put that in here. This is frozen, but it's gonna thaw out. And as it thaws out, like the worms will go away from it, but as it thaws out, the worms will come back to it. I put in some grapes and a strawberry, a couple strawberries. There's an apple core. Put that in there. I also have this nasty orange, and usually I like to cut these up in slices and do a little bit at a time, but I'm gonna go ahead and put this in here and see what they do with it. Oranges are forbidden fruit or food to give them, but I have been feeding it to them. If you feed it to them in small quantities, they seem to do just fine. A little bit of frozen banana peel. We'll go ahead and throw this in there. And I think this is good for now, except for like as far as like solid foods. And I'm gonna get my veggie powder and worm chow. All right, so this is the homemade worm chow. It has a lot of grit in there, which is great for calcium, to help with protein poisoning for the worms, and also for helping them digest their food because they have gizzards. This is my homemade veggie powder. It's really just electric compost, and it has other things besides veggies. All kinds of fruits, veggies, cardboard, eggshells. It also has grit in there, but I do this just so they have variety. I'm gonna go ahead and wet this down a tiny bit with my broken sprayer. And then you always want to cover your food. This helps with flying insects getting in there. But as you can see, most of this is just like pre-compost with a little bit of castings in it, but it's definitely a nice, it'll be a nice bedding refresh because they're not going to be just in straight castings. It's actually, because castings, they'll eat their castings over and over, but this is like more attractive, more fresh food for them. Okay, I'm going to put this old newspaper back on. Okay, here's a fresh piece I just found. Then put that on there. Maybe it'll flatten out. I'll put it this way. All right, and that looks good. I'm gonna put this lid back on and put this on here. So again, all the worms, or a lot of the worms, are in this second tray. We're hoping that they migrate up here to the food in the new bedding. Then we'll harvest this tray, get all the castings out, put fresh bedding in this. So it'll just continue to be a cycle of getting those castings, putting fresh bedding. Thank you guys so much for watching and being here. Please like and subscribe. If you want to see other videos like this, I have one linked over here. I also talk about plant care tips. And so if you want to learn anything about worm farming, plant care, like and subscribe. It helps the channel.